Hi, everyone. I'm really excited because this is my first interviewee who is not over 50. Actually, that's not true. I interviewed someone in their 40s, but this is way under that. I'm going to interview Angela Gargano. I'm going to read her bio, but then we're going to chat, and it's going to be a lot of fun and motivating for people of all ages. Angela Gargano is a six times American Ninja Warrior, three times cover athlete, Miss Fitness America, and a leading voice on resilience, radical adaptability, and peak performance. She has helped thousands break past their limits, whether it's achieving the first pull up or developing the unshakable confidence to handle anything life throws her way. After tearing her ACL on national television, she was told her career was over, but she refused to accept that fate. Instead, she rebuilt her strength, came back stronger than ever, and proved that resilience isn't about avoiding setbacks. It's about adapting, taking action, and knowing you have what it takes to rise every time you fall. Welcome, Angela.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So I was telling Angela before I hit record that she's in my ears every week. I listen to podcasts when I'm at the gym, and I have you on my favorites. So when a different podcast finishes, then I have yours. And, it's just exciting to hear what you have to say. You are right now 35 years old. Is that correct?
35.
Okay. So I'm 61, soon 62. And when I listen to you on your podcast, which is called
What if it all goes right?
What If It All Goes Right? And I love it every time she finishes and says it. I'm like, that's so wonderful. And I see myself or I hear myself in your podcast very often, not only today, but when I was your age. And
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to tell you is you are exactly where you need to be, and you're
Oh,
doing all the things.
thank you.
I mean, I've always grown up doing all the things and smashing the concepts of what needs to be done at a certain time and all that. And you're just doing all the things. And I love to see that because a lot of people complain, but they don't do anything about it.
For sure. If anything I do well, it's I just go for it.
So
Even if
tell us
it,
what you're doing now. What are you doing now?
yeah, absolutely. As you said in my bio, I created an online empire for fitness, right? With helping literally thousands of women, a lot of them 60 plus, getting their first pull up. And that's been absolutely incredible because that's something that a lot of these women think is completely impossible. It's something that they think they cannot do. They're like, they come in, they're like, I cannot do this. And after helping them achieve it, at first when I started, it was obviously about like, let's get them the skill of the pull up. But then I realized it's not about that for me at all when I help these women. It's the fact that when they show up consistently and they try something that they never thought that they can do, it transforms their life and then it really goes out into their life. So I've been doing that for years. My whole page has always been fitness, fitness, fitness. But I keep seeing the evolution of like, I am meant to talk about more than that. It's that evolution of talking about mindset, personal development, pushing past, being resilient. So I literally in the past couple months have completely, I don't want to say burn it down because I didn't burn it down. I just rebuilt it. The whole back end of my business, everyone saw the front end of me doing all the things, but I literally got rid of pretty much everything. The pull-up program still exists, but my main goal is focusing on the keynote speaking, getting onto stages, and helping people through that piece, which is the resilience, the deeper mindset pieces of it, which is where I really feel like my heart is and where I really want to help impact people. So yeah, huge overhaul, huge evolution. And it maybe doesn't sound like much when I say it, but oh my goodness, it was almost like a little bit of a death. Like I had to grieve that side of me of what I always thought. Always thought it was going to be fitness all the time on my page. And now I'm like, I'm so different. I just couldn't allow myself to keep showing up in that way because it didn't feel authentic to just keep only posting workouts or only talking about fitness. That's not what I thought it was actually about.
So it's funny because, again, I know way more about you, although we have talked before and you were the one interviewing me at that point. I owned a gym when I was 25. Yeah, I was 25.
Similar. I think same age too.
I ran it to the ground in a year. That's how bad I am at that.
Yeah.
So it's funny when I was listening, I said, oh, she had a gym. And of course, I couldn't take anything online because when I was 25, there was no internet, no cell phones. It was all different. I was a fitness instructor for many years and a gym owner. I think it was in my mid 30s when I said, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I want to learn.
Yes, so similar.
Yeah, and so now when I go to the gym and I still feel, I mean, I still have my form and all the things that you've carried throughout your whole life, but sometimes I fantasize with, oh, maybe I could teach a couple classes, and I'm like, no. And there are women my age teaching at the gym, or at least a bit younger, but it's like, do I really want to? No, I don't. I want to come and enjoy it and focus on my pull up and see what I can learn from other women. When we look at your highlight reels, your photos, your accomplishments, it does look from the outside, oh my gosh, she has it all together. She is so confident. You mentioned that when you were young, you had people call you names and you felt insecure. It stuck with me that somebody called you Mangela and stuff like that. When I was a kid, they called me Dumbo and stick legs and all kinds of stuff that stuck with me to this day. I'm still self-conscious about my ears, and that's why I wear my hair long and wear head wraps. I would like you to share where you are now in that, because when I was your age, I was still dealing with a lot of self-consciousness about my body. 2 years after that, I got pregnant, and that was the beginning of my complete recovery.
It's so interesting. It's like when people look at me, they're like, oh, she's so confident in her body and stuff like that. When I was younger, I already had pretty strong arms because I was a gymnast, but that wasn't cool then. It wasn't seen as beautiful. All the popular girls I was seeing had really straight, regular arms, and I was over here with this tone. And I remember I was in a social studies class. We were watching Gladiator for some reason. One of the guys stood up and was like, oh, look, it looks like Angela. I just remember bawling my eyes out. And I remember the social studies teacher grabbing this guy from the class and being like, you don't speak to her like that, da 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 da. And I went to the nurse and I went home. I remember sitting outside with my mom on the curb. She could tell I was going home because it wasn't because I was sick. I would always try and put a sweatshirt on so no one could see my body. I remember the woman coming up to me and she was like, Angela, I know you're probably not gonna want to hear this right now. She's like, but I would love to have your arms. She was like 40 something years old. For the longest time, it was really tough for me to show my body at all. If you would have seen me, even when I was doing fitness competitions in my everyday life, I was very much covered up. Everything that I did would cover up my stomach. I would cover up my arms. I didn't really want anyone to see it. It wasn't until I got a little deeper into the fitness competitions where now you're on stage in these heels and now you're showing off your body and it's something to be proud of. That's exciting. And it was definitely one extreme to the next, right? Because it was so uncomfortable in real life. But then on these stages, it was like everyone was like, wow, like all these pieces. So it definitely helped me with my confidence because it was a whole other side of what I'd seen before. But yeah, I think sometimes it winds up coming back. I don't think it ever fully goes away. Like some of these things from when you were younger, you'll still be out with these gorgeous girls and thinking, oh man, I wish I looked like that. No guy's gonna come up to me because my arms are too jacked or whatever it might be. These thoughts come into your head, but then it's talking to those thoughts and saying, hey, listen, you're amazing just the way you are. Your body's amazing the way you are. I have to constantly remind myself, but like you said, it still kind of lingers and I do hear it sometimes. It's just now I'm able to have a conversation with it more deeply. I still wind up having some of those moments. And it's interesting being in the keynote speaking world right now because on one side of the note, corporate thinks like some people think it's cool. On the other side, they're very conservative and they're like, we don't want you to show. And I get it. They don't want me to show like my whole body, but it's interesting just being in this world a little bit more because I'm kind of hearing it a little bit more like, hey, they're like, we don't want to say this in a mean way, but let's make sure that your stomach's
You're
covered
wearing
up or whatever. I
suits.
always try and show my arms because I want to show my
Yeah.
strength, but like definitely like if it's like your arms and your midriff, it's probably too much. And again, it's not anything negative, but it's just interesting that the corporate world is still a little bit like that. Like, let's be really conservative. And I think some of it has to do with maybe some of the people in the audience feeling insecure about their own bodies and they'll look at me and be like, oh, she's really fit and I want to be like that. Maybe they don't want that kind of thing coming up. It's very interesting
Uh,
now being in this new world because you do have to be a little bit more conservative with your body.
that's interesting. I love when I see snippets of your past keynotes and you're wearing sometimes bearing your midriff or your arms are showing. I think you look absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you. Again, it
And
really depends on the person, but it's been
yeah,
interesting.
no, it is true that depending on what arena you're moving in, you're gonna have to conform a little bit. Because I don't like rules. I was a rule breaker in the way of leading my life the way I wanted to. Like I never wanted a job, so I didn't get one. And 40 years later, I'm still doing that, working on my own. So when I was young, you were talking about you didn't like your arms. My arms were so skinny and my legs were so skinny that I wore like 10 pairs of socks one on top of the other because they would call me stick legs. But then I gained weight when I was 15 and I was normal. And somebody made a comment about my butt or my thighs. And then I went on a diet and then I spiraled into an eating disorder that lasted many years, like 15, 20 years. And that was a long time of struggling with that. And now that I'm 61, it's like, okay, now I love myself so much. Now my body's aging. So, I would say, gee, when I was 35, I was cognizant of my youth. I really was at that time. But it's more like I still see people in their 20s and even in their teens thinking, oh my God, I'm aging, I'm too old. And like, how do you feel at your age right now about that? Like, I guess it's
Yeah,
complex.
it's interesting. I still feel very young. I think where I sometimes feel behind, maybe you've heard this in my podcast before, I'm 35, I'm single, I don't have kids, and now you're starting to see that most of your friend group, that's exactly where they're at. They bought the house, they have the kids, they have the husband. So at 35, mentally I start to feel a little behind because I haven't experienced those things yet. But I also keep trying to remind myself that I've lived a very full life, right? Like we talked about. I don't know how I did it with all the stuff. I'm like, want to open a gym? Cool, open a gym. We're just like doing things, throwing things out. So I'm trying to also remind myself of that. I'm really liking where a lot of the narrative is going lately. It's seeming like more women are standing. You've been really helpful with telling me as well, right? It's like you're not too late. Like they talk about with the pull up, right? It's like, no, you're right where you need to be. And it's okay that you don't have the kids and those things yet because you're experiencing all these different pieces. I feel behind sometimes when I'm sitting there, but then again, it's always coming back and having that conversation with myself. Like, are you behind? Are you right where you need to be? Like, because you're becoming, I wrote it in my Substack a little bit, like becoming her, right? I'm becoming her. But yeah, definitely those definitely come up because it's exactly with, what we're used to hearing. When we're used to hearing like go to college, this is what I thought was going to happen. Go to college, got my degree, get a job, go have kids, get a house. I thought that was all going to happen at like 20 something years old, like till you're like whatever. And now I'm over here at 35, but mentally, physically, oh my goodness, I feel amazing. When I tell people I'm 35, they're like, you're 35. And I'm like, yeah, and I actually feel really good.
I get it. I'm giving my experience not to talk to you, like, but also for people
No,
who
I
are
love it.
listening and don't really know maybe either of us or maybe you, but not me. Or at 35, I had met the guy that would become my husband. I wanted to be a mom at 25.
Wow.
If I don't have kids by 25, I'm not having them because I wanted to
Mm.
be a young mother. Of course, it didn't happen. I was a college dropout, which I regret, but I'm not going to do it. Anyhow, so I'm 35. I marry this guy, and because my biological clock is not ticking, it's like ringing the alarm. So I'm like, okay, this guy's fun. He's not, doesn't have baggage, this and that, but he had a bunch of red flags that I chose to ignore. And eventually he became the father of my kids. I became a mom the first time a couple months shy of my 38th birthday, and the second time a couple months shy of my 41st. My pregnancies were good, and my deliveries, the second one was 45 minutes. Boom.
Let's
That's
go.
it. When I heard you say that about all your friends getting married and having kids, I was thinking, wow, when she gets married and has kids, her friends are going to be. So, how did you get into the ninja warrior situation?
I love telling this story because everyone assumes I was just doing it forever or something, but I was completely an accident. And I love telling this story in my keynote, but like I was a biochemist before all of
Hmm.
this. So I went to finish in college, was a biochemist. First, I worked at Brown University. Then I was working at this place called Genzyme, which is like pharmaceutical, full, like large scale. So I'm like literally in a hazmat suit working on tanks and stuff. It was pretty wild. So I'm working in that and an overnight shift and all sorts of stuff. And then my friend who did fitness competitions was trying out for Ninja Warrior. I didn't know what that was. I don't really watch TV that much in general. I was really great with like videography and creative stuff. So we need to put together a submission video. And she's like, can you help me? I'm like, awesome, like, of course. I helped her get a videographer I knew. And we went to this gym and we're filming this video. And the videographer was like, Angela, you really should try out for this. But I like didn't want to try out for it because I didn't, if your friend's doing it, am I going to tell her also, hey, I'm going to do it too? I didn't want to be that person. So after some convincing, he was like, let's just do it, which we love those people, right? Who are like, just do it. And I was like, okay, fine. So we put together a video, threw it together. It's so funny when I rewatch the video sometimes. I'm like, this is hilarious. Months later, I'm at a fitness competition and I get a call from like an 818 number. I thought it was spam. This is like back when you needed to also call in to get your voice note. So I was like, whatever, I'm gonna call in. So I call in and it's like, you've been accepted to American Ninja. It's this guy with this like, he's
Ooh.
literally saying it like that. And I'm like sitting there like, what? And it was like, and you're competing in 2 weeks. And I'm like, what? I'm telling my friend, dude, I just got on. What do I do? So I literally had 2 weeks to learn how to ninja. A huge problem was I had no idea how to do it. Zero clue. Never had done ninja before. I didn't know what it was. I'm going on Facebook posting, people help me. Anyone know how to do this? What was really cool is people came up to me and they were messaging me. We have courses we made in our backyards. People are obsessed with the show. They had it all built out in their backyard. So I was going out, I lived in Rhode Island at the time, going out to these random people's backyards. And you could see how deep in the woods these were, like so sketchy. Like, Angela, what are you doing? I think I was the only female even going out there. I accidentally got on and was learning how to ninja right there. I competed 2 weeks later. I did pretty good, became obsessed with the show. And then I realized there wasn't a lot of women getting through. And I was like, I want to be that girl who gets through this course. So again, completely on accident. It just goes to show and remind you to just go for it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I didn't even think I was going to get on. And now I'm so grateful that I gave it a shot. And I said, whatever, let's just see what happens.
How old were you when you did that?
How old was I?
More or less ballpark.
Season 7. So whenever season 7 was, they're on like season 18 right now.
Wow. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I want to say that was probably 10 years ago.
And then you went on to compete a few more times, though.
Yes, I've competed 6 times. The next time I competed, I actually got rejected for 2 seasons, so I didn't get on season 8 or 9. And I was so mad because at that point you get a little cocky, like I got on the first time, and now you're not getting accepted. That's frustrating. Finally, got accepted for season 10. At that point, I had quit my job as a biochemist. That's when I opened my gym. I got on the women's health cover, which is up there, which is super cool. I always say in my video, I had my story, and I had a boyfriend, and I remember putting him in my video and him almost being like, we should put me in the video. And I'm like, why? We're gonna be together forever. So I put the video in, got in on season 10. And that's the one that I was like so strong. Like I been 2 years of going all out with competing in local gyms and stuff like that. Flying through the course, and I was looking like I was going to be a top female. I had to do one obstacle to finish it. I finished the obstacle, but when I landed, I collapsed and I tore my ACL. So that was great in front of everyone. But then wound up coming back 11 months later, competing again, had a full comeback, and then I kept competing like after that. But yeah, huge, huge journey. That's like it's like the picture of that is what a resilient story, because it's literally like it's like you kept trying, you did all the things right, and this is why my podcast and even my keynote is called "What if it all goes right?" I did everything right, and yet it still went wrong. But did it actually go wrong? That was exactly what I needed.
Well, first of all, the fact that even when you were rejected twice, you went on and got on after that, for your second time, which is when you tear your ACL, a lot of people wouldn't do that. A lot of people would give up.
And I was so frustrated. Like, I mean, I say that very easily, but I was
Yeah.
so mad. I remember being, and this is like, if I could go back to my younger self and be like, Angela, I remember being in the seat for this women's health magazine, getting my makeup done,
Mm.
doing this whole thing. And I was sitting there waiting for the call because all my friends were getting the call to get back on the show. And I wasn't. And I was just like so frustrated. I wish I could go back to myself and just tell her, hey, just be present with this moment right here. But I was mad. I did have
Yeah.
like, wait, my video is good. But again, it happened exactly how it was supposed to happen. And sometimes the rejection is not only a redirection, but I also feel like the rejection is also when people tell me I can't do something, I'm more like, watch me do it.
I get it. I have a friend who published a book, but it was after she kind of self-published it, but after like a couple of rejections. And I'm an author, my husband's an author, and we could wallpaper the house with rejections.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still pitch publications. I just published in one, and then I was invited to pitch again, crickets. But instead of saying what's wrong with my pitch, I'm like, maybe she's busy, she didn't like it, whatever. I'm thinking I need to pitch again. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
like, oh, well, this is the end, and if 10 times more they don't publish anything, well, maybe I'll move on to a different one. But not everybody is built for rejection, and that is so hard.
You have to get used to rejection. Like rejection's a huge, I mean, even with the stuff I do for like when I even do coaching with people, right? I have a bunch of people I go on calls with, and sometimes they don't want
Yeah.
to do it. And it's like, I used to get frustrated and be like, why don't they want to be coached by me? And then I'm like, you know what? Maybe it was the wrong time, not the right thing. But then you keep showing up and then you find this amazing client who shows up. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I try and post as much as I can. Even with my podcast, I'm very real about all the stuff. But like, I wish, and I'm going to continue to post like all the amount of rejections we both get. It's so important for people to see that. They just see that you got it. Oh, you got the publication. They don't see the 27 rejections you had before
Or
that. I just think it's important for people to realize that's a part. And if you want to go for your dream and whatever you want to achieve, you got to get used to it. You got to have skin
absolutely.
and be like, all right.
So one of the things on my vision board is I've done public speaking, but I wanted to do a TED Talk and a TEDx even. There was one locally, and I have a friend who now makes a ton of money doing speaking. She started with a TEDx and then capitalized on that. She was trying to make me be a speaker, and I'm like, no, I like being an influencer. We compared notes on the money, and I'm making more or less the same in my backyard. So I like what I do also. However, I still wanted to do that TEDx just as a kind of challenge. So a couple of years ago, I submitted, but I also told my husband to submit because if we're both a good candidate for something, I always say we should both try. And then whoever gets it, the other one, gets behind that person. I thought my idea was pretty cool. And he submitted the very last day and put some, whatever together. And then we get the emails. He gets the one where he gets to do the interview. I eventually get the email too. It was weird. He went to the interview, so did I, and I came out feeling confident as hell. He did not. I was not picked. And I was like, oh, darn it. He got picked. If you don't do it, you don't do it. But he was kind of like the understudy.
Get someone dropped out.
Yeah. And that I
Uh,
think is so hard because he wasn't feeling it. And he's like, I'm not going to do this. So he didn't go full into it. A week before, they tell him, listen, nobody's dropped out, but we like your idea so much that now you're going to speak on the stage. And he was not ready. So in a week, we just practiced and practiced and whatever. I was with him 24/7, like, come on, you got to do this. And he did it and it was good. It was an interesting process. He later thanked me for pushing him to do it. I haven't given up on the idea. It's not like if I don't do it, I'm not going to die or anything, but it's still a challenge that I want to do. And a lot of people are telling me, you don't get paid, you shouldn't do it. Speakers who get paid and are older don't have that fresh mentality. This is not about the money. This is about the challenge. Tell me a little bit about that because I know you did get a TEDx
yeah, I
speaking.
just got one. So
Excited when I saw that. I was like,
So
oh my
this
God.
is hilarious because I feel like this happened also with this my magazine cover. I
Uh-huh.
have it on my vision board. I've been actively working towards all the other stuff on my vision board, like getting more speaking gigs, which is a whole other world, which I'm learning about, which I'm really loving. I've been working on refining my keynote pitches, my keynote in general, and all the content, blah 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 blah, doing all the things. And the last thing in my mind was like, where am I going to research a TEDx and then like do it? But there was a woman who is the producer of a really well-known podcast here in Austin, and I'd been on that podcast before. And it was so exciting because she reached out to me. And this is why, by the way, I think the reason like I got a lot of opportunities also is because I'm just a good person. Like I think you just being a good person. Really, that sounds
Yeah.
wild, but like I really talk and care about every single person I come in contact with. She was the one who was filming and doing the production. She's like, Angela, I just saw this opportunity come up in Round Rock. Like, here's the thing, you should go talk to her. Here's the organizer. Let me connect you with the organizer. You guys can talk and just get coffee or something. So I got coffee with the organizer. I didn't ask for anything, by the way. I wasn't in there like, I want to be on the TEDx stage. I just learned more about her, what she was doing. She's absolutely incredible. And then we started talking a little bit more. And then I asked her, like, what is she wanting for this TEDx? Like, what does she want? Because they all have a theme. This one was
Yeah.
called, the theme is Own It, and it's for women. So we were talking more about that. And then from hearing what she said, I put my pitch in because I had a better understanding of what they were truly looking for. And she said that the one she thinks she liked about me is I never came in being like, hi, I'm a ninja warrior, talking about myself. It was the last thing I talked about. It was very much like really getting to know her. So got to know her really well, put in my pitch, which is all about pull-ups, which is
Mm.
not what my keynote's about, but I thought it was really empowering to own it. Working on a skill that's impossible, like a pull-up, it could be anything, right? Something that you really thought you could never achieve, and then achieving it and how it is a metaphor for life, showing up the failures of it, the ups and downs of it. It's very much side by side with life. So that was my pitch on how people can own it. But I think a big piece of it was I think some people just put in their applications and they're like, whatever. But I think what's really helpful with anything, even with your speaking, is get in contact with the people who are doing. They're just regular people, like,
Yeah.
and just have a conversation and get to know them. Don't ask them for anything. I saw someone the other day who went right up to her and was like, I want to be in it. That's not the way to do it. You need to cultivate real relationships. This business business, even influencing, it's a relationship business. People are just people. You want to go in with how much can I give versus how much can I get? That was really powerful for me when I wrote all that. It was not about me. It was not about like, I'm going to get this TEDx. And then there was 180 applications for the Round Rock one. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get it. That's a lot of applications. And then we had to send in another second interview after. And with that one, same thing. I was like, I'm just going to be really myself. I'm not going to script it too much. Like, I'm just going to like whatever. And then luckily it just got picked. So now I'm going through the whole process, which I'm really excited about. I met all the women last night. I love this one in particular, very diverse in the topics. She did a great job with this. There's a diversity in different ethnicities and stuff like that. So I think she did an incredible job with that and like bringing it together. But let me tell you, it's going to be a lot of work. It's pretty much an 8-minute talk, which is very hard to do, especially to do it really well. So yeah, I'm going to go through that whole process and I'm really excited. I'm doing it for free. My keynotes are literally quadruple that cost for sure. But you want to outweigh when it comes to something that you're doing. Okay, I'm doing it for free, but the experience you're going to get from the way they go through and how they're going to help you become an even better speaker, the network you get from that, there's so much that comes from it. So you always want to weigh your options by those things as well. It's not always about money.
I'm sometimes people don't even know what the hell I do until we've been talking or maybe they walk away, they never find out. But when I was younger, I think it was a little more pushy like that because older people told me to do it.
Yeah.
And it felt not only terrible, like inauthentic and I didn't feel good doing it. And now whenever there's an interview or I go somewhere, I always feel I get in this space where I'm like, please let me say whatever to whoever needs to hear it. And that is all I want because I don't want to feel needy or like that
100%.
scarcity mentality of, oh, can I do this? Or that comes across as off-putting.
People can feel your energy. I'm actually reading a book right now and it was talking about like whether it be you're getting a coffee with a friend or you're doing something before you go into whatever that situation is, even a meeting or a sales meeting,
Mhm.
whatever, like you just said, set your intention for what it is that you are really
Yeah,
wanting to feel from that and like what are you wanting to give, right? So I feel like that's really
yeah.
important to sometimes set that intention right away, bring yourself down. Maybe you're excited or whatever, but like bring it down for a second. And it's like, how do you want that to feel? How do you want that person to feel when they leave, like hanging out with you? They want to feel like, wow, she was really present with me. She really cared about me. So
Yeah.
I love that idea of setting that intentionality before you hop into any kind of these meetings.
Yeah, even when I'm at a social media conference where I'm networking, if I'm talking to someone, I made a conscious decision many years ago to look at that person. I'm not in the periphery seeing, oh, who else is here? That way, if somebody wants to talk to me or catch my attention, I don't see it unless
Mm.
they physically touch me or something. But I've been with people like that who are literally looking past you to see who else is more interesting than you.
Who else can I like?
Oh
What
my
you don't even realize?
gosh.
Like sometimes the people who are the most quiet, I always meet people and I'm like, wow, you're very impressive, doing some incredible things.
Yes, I think it does speak volumes more because it comes out like a used car salesman when they're like, this is my card and I do, oh my gosh, like please
I
leave
know
me
there was a lot of
alone.
that in this event I was at the other
Ew.
day, which I thought was really interesting. I just pitched a furniture company
Mhm.
for influencing. I'm doing this whole series of my podcast about my up level and what that looks like because I'm trying to show up as her now. My space feels like I'm already like I'm looking at my space, my clothes. I'm like, oh, it feels different, the person that
Right.
I'm becoming. So when I reached out to them, the first thing I did was say, well, first I've been following this one furniture company forever, so I'm obsessed with them. I was saying right away the things that I would love to support them for, not about me. I was like, oh, I see that X, Y, and Z. This could be really beneficial. I'd love to bring you in and take someone through the whole process of what you guys do to create this up-leveled space. It was wild. They get back to me in 2 seconds because it came off like that instead. Again, what can I give versus what can I get?
Sometimes people will ask me, like they see a partnership and they're like, who's the PR person? I'm like, I'm not going to introduce you to the,
I hate when people
because,
do that.
but you know what? It's like, or how did you get that trip? All the work that goes behind that. Or why did you go on 2 trips with this cruise line and I only did one? Well, maybe your content sucked, and
I
mine
also feel like,
didn't.
I also want to remind people if they're listening to this too. Like, I love helping people. I want
Yeah, me
people to
too. Me
thrive. So I
too.
will 1000% share my contacts and stuff like that. Typically, you have these conversations, you're learning more about what they need, and you're like, oh, wait, I have a great idea. I think that I should connect you with X, Y, and Z. It kind of naturally comes up instead of ask, I think, how can I support you? And they're like, oh, I would love to support you in X, Y, and Z. And that's how I've gotten major contacts.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, If you just go up to somebody, I've had so many people be like, "Can you give me the contact to women's health?" I'm like, "No, like I don't
That
want
is
to know
terrible.
you." But like I said, the people that in my life who I've just gotten really great relationships with, I'm like, "Ooh, I have an idea for you," or I think you should know this,
Yeah.
and then I connect them.
When I listen to your podcast, when I see you show up, when I see what you're doing, like I feel like I was going to say helping you, which sounds very condescending because I don't even know if I can do that. But if I can help, I'm going to
Yeah,
because you can see how hard you're working and what you're doing. And then another thing, it's not only about not giving the contact because I'm going to lose something, which I'm not. I might lose my credibility if
thousand
this
percent.
person, for example, in the influencing world, I have a travel contact and somebody else says, I want to go on that trip. And then they do, and they suck, or they're unresponsive, or they're hard to work with. And then I look bad.
You want to make sure that whoever you're sending them, you know, is going to be like
Yes. Like they're not
incredible
going to
job.
ghost them or who knows, or so many
Or
things
hard to
about
work
that.
with. That is
Hmm.
the number one thing in the industry. When I was doing fitness modeling back in the day, whatever, I mean, that would always come down to that. And you would hear they would people at these things, the production, they would talk about the people who were not good to work with. You would hear it and you're like, ooh, but you'd also hear about the people, oh, she was amazing to work with. We loved her, stuff like that. It definitely does get around. The networking piece of this is very much, you just got to be authentic. And again, people want to try and get stuff really quickly. Sometimes the relationship takes a little longer. I'm noticing that with the speaking business.
Yes.
I went from all fitness in the speaking business, and now I'm trying to create those relationships slowly. I'm not expecting to get a gig right away. I'm meeting event planners, meeting bureaus, having a relationship with them, and realizing that they don't know me yet. The only way they're going to get to know me is for me to be in contact with them, not asking for gigs, but just like, okay, cool. How can I support you?
One thing that I love about being online, and I know that you're like, okay, speaking is going to be in person, but you still have this heavy online presence.
Yeah,
Something I tell people all the time from my own experience is that when you feel nothing is happening, that is not true because there could be somebody watching your content. I've had this happen where I had my biggest sponsorship last year that nobody would know by looking at it, my first generous six-figure sponsorship. They had been scouting me for a year.
insane.
It was a talent agency. And so when with my agent, I got on the call that we already signed the contract, everything was a done deal. I didn't even talk to them until it was all signed. There were like six people on the call, and they gave me examples of my own content that they wanted to see in our partnership. And I was like, whoa, they've gone down there and looked at that. They know I'm bilingual. They know I lived in Spain. They know I'm an author. They know I'm a journalist. They know so much about me. The ones that are really worthwhile might take some time and they
Yeah.
might be brewing. Like right now, you and I are talking, and you don't know what is going on. You might get a call tomorrow that somebody's been following you for a year, and now they want to work with you.
Like a podcast. I have people coming up to me. I go to the same yoga class every single week. Like I've seen these people, this small girl group. The lady who was at the front desk, I went to, she's like, by the way, she's like, your podcast really resonated with me. I'm like, I had no idea you're listening to my podcast. That's so cool. Somebody else, oh, I was listening to your podcast. I'm like, what? Like, I think that's so cool. Yeah, absolutely. You do not ever know who is watching
No.
you. And I had something happen as well with the creative thing. I got a random shoot that I did here in Austin, and they came same thing. They came in with literally all my posts. They're like, here's an example. Here's an example. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's so wild.
But it's what happens. And so by showing up, even when you put your podcast out there and you don't know whether people are listening or not.
Yeah.
And but I forget how I found, I mean, of course it was through you, but I don't know if you probably mentioned it in one of your Instagram posts or something. And then I boom, listened to one and now I just listen to them like they just pop up.
Yeah. Two a week. And I'm actually
That's
just,
crazy.
yeah. This is even crazier. I recorded three a week every single week for a couple weeks. We had like 50 episodes already done. What I love about the podcast, I was trying to do it when I was really in it. It's kind
Mm.
of like when you have a breakup and you're writing love songs, when things are sucking, what better time to be on a podcast is when we're really sharing the experience that you're going through. I was very much in it. So you can tell when people are coming up to me, they're like, that's so real and authentic. They're like, thank you so much for sharing that. It was like you said, I feel like my Instagram is a little more curated, but the podcast is very deep internal, which is kind of nice. It's like you get to see a different side. I'm really excited. I talked to a podcast crew on Monday, so we might be going a little bit more like nicer and whatever. But I just like, it's like we talked about with just doing it. I did it messy. I just recorded all the episodes. I have an assistant who helps me. She kind of knows how to cut the podcast. Now I'm going to talk to somebody who can up level it and make it even better. I just want to share this. I don't care if the quality is crummy with the video, it's the content. I want to put the content out there and share it and just start messy. But most people, like you were saying before, like they may not even start. I'm like, nope, I'm just gonna start messy. I'm like, I've seen top podcasts who they're still just doing it on their Zoom camera and they're doing great.
That is so true. And that is really how I've done everything in my life is just doing messy. When I launched my website Viva 50, I was 50 years old. I was an editor for somebody else's online magazine. I knew how to run the social media campaigns, but I didn't have the money to hire an expensive person. My husband and I were together making the website. I didn't have a logo until after, which now doesn't even matter because nobody has logos anymore. Like all
I know
the
people take all the time to curate the
yeah.
logo and the look, and I'm like,
Like what are
no.
the colors? Like I don't know
You
what
also
my
you
colors
also
are.
don't want to do that because I did that too many times. It's you
Oh,
change and you evolve. You just keep changing it, but it's like whatever you're doing, you just need to do it messy. Just
yeah.
do it
I
now.
remember when my Instagram is as old as Instagram. So when I started, there was no influencing. I was
Yeah.
posting pics of my kids and what I was doing. It didn't really matter. When Reels came around, of course, I didn't want to do them with something new, and I ended up doing them. I look at them now and I'm
Yeah.
shocked at how terrible they were. But that means I'm better now.
Yeah.
When I see the first interviews I ever did without a microphone, the quality is terrible. Now cameras are, they have all this stability, but I had some where I'm holding the camera and it's shaking like I'm in an earthquake, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed.
I had stuff like that as well. I also think what has never gone out of style has been the authenticity. And it's
Right.
been, for me, my Instagram started taking off when I shared my story about my ACL. Like
Yeah.
it was just me sharing my life. Like you told me about when we were talking about the personal brands the other day. I think for a while I got really into like only niche, like talking about pull-ups because that's what, a coach told
Hmm.
me, just only do
Hmm.
that. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm losing myself because that's not all of me. Then we got back to just being like, you know what? I'm just going to continue to share my life. What's interesting, right? And I think when you're sharing your life and what you're going through and what you're building and how you're going through it, I think that really creates that personal brand, even if it's messy, even if it's just you taking little clips of your day and putting it together. That has never gone out of style. It goes way back to YouTube. The vlogs were very popular for
Yeah.
years. That style content, I don't think has ever gone out of time.
Snapchat, I don't use it anymore, but when I was using Snapchat, that was popular with older people for a while, it disappeared. So there was no it was just whatever, and where we showed up the way we were. And then stories came, in Instagram, and that's how we did it.
So I really just think it's like sharing your life. People can tell they're wanting authenticity right now. People always want that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's a huge piece with this entire journey, even with my speaking journey and the evolution. I kept telling people, I don't know what to do. They're like, take them with you. Take your
yeah,
audience
yeah,
with you.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine. I'll take them.
So I have a vision board too. Mine is on my phone. It's my screensaver.
Cute.
Really? You we have more in common than
Yeah, I always have it in the back of my.
That's why when I'm listening to you, I'm having conversations with you in my head. And that's why I wanted to talk to you for real and not just in my head.
Yeah.
What mess, because I'm really like, younger women, older women, because now you're saying you don't want to focus so much on the pull-ups. You want to expand,
Yeah.
which is wonderful because when you get to be my age, you'll be like, oh, wow, I did this and I did that. You don't even know what's going to happen. You might
Yeah,
have this plan, but something better might happen,
for sure.
so that's future you talking to you saying
Yeah.
that because it's true. You just don't know. Even now when people say, well, what's your plan? I mean, I am getting older and I'm like, I hope to be at least healthy in 10 years. But even when I was younger, like I did not have specific, like, yeah, I have my vision board, but it's like if that doesn't happen, I'm still going to be okay. Maybe
Hmm.
something else that was meant to, or maybe it looks a little different.
Yeah.
Like last year, I thought I wanted to create a course this year. But you know what? I ended up starting a Substack, and I'm really good at being consistent with that. So I don't want to do the course anymore
Yeah.
and you were doing the course, and I was like, maybe I should do a course like her. So we all see other people doing it. And then I'm listening to your podcast saying it's hard to get people to sign up to those things. And I'm imagining you have people knocking on your door just to get in the door of your pull-up course.
No, you still gotta convince people. Years ago, I used to just be able to put it on my store and people buy. But I think now people are more cautious about what they're purchasing, which I understand.
More competition.
competition and also, but I think there's also been, people been burned before. Maybe they got a course and it was horrible or something,
Oh,
right? So it's like they're having that more of like, oh, like, is this actually going to be good and really help me type of thing. So I do kind of understand. I'm similar now too. I'm like, when I'm going to
same.
buy something, I'm asking people first about it. But absolutely, I think that when it comes to your vision, you have to have the vision, but like you said, be open to it being different. I realized one time I made a vision board and I had all this stuff on it. Sometimes I would rush my vision board to have it done by January 1st. And then I would look at it and be like, actually, I don't really want some of these things anymore. So now when I make my vision board, I sit with it, I kind of look at it a little bit, and I actually give it like a month and then put it out there and just have it on the board because there's certain things that I'm like, wait, I don't think I actually want that.
What happened to me with my last one before the one I did now is that not everything happened in the year that I made it. And I was a little bummed, but then I thought I just didn't switch it out. I just left it on my phone.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the second year, I was like, what? I made that amount of money. I got this. I did that. That happened. Boom. And then I was like, I cannot believe it. It all happened. And so then I did a new one, but I'm realizing halfway through the year, I'm still like, okay, well, if it doesn't happen by the end of the year, I'm not taking it off my phone because
They're thinking about it and want this was on the vision board 2016. I didn't get it till 2023.
I believe in them more than in them being magic, that it kind of gives you, and I think you've spoken about that in your podcast, you're in the mentality of acting and behaving and doing things that will put you in that space of getting it.
Absolutely. Like, how does that person act? How are they? That's exactly what I was again talking about that company with. I'm like, oh, I know I want to redo my living room and I want to do like a whole thing to feel like this up-leveled version of myself. And I'm going to do a whole podcast journey. I love doing series. I'm going to do a whole series on it. How does she show up? Oh, she has this kind of space. She acts like this. Her energy is like this. How does she show up with people? Oh, she's really present. We're really starting to think about who that person is and becoming her right now. You see this too. Obviously, I read, I listen to podcasts, all stuff like that. I love listening to past books from years ago, from I love listening to the older wisdom because they were saying this years ago. It's not new.
No, we're just repackaging it. I have written books that were really a mishmash of things I've read, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all it is. A lot of it, it's all repeated stuff in a new way,
Yeah.
but it's like how people can listen. But yeah, you go back and it's like, how can you be that person? I'm actually listening to Think and Grow Rich right now. Have you read that one?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like, of course you bet. I'm listening to it right now, and then I'm gonna reread it and do a lot of the stuff. But man, he's saying all that stuff. Where Bob Proctor, I've been listening to him a lot.
Mm.
But yeah, all older, wise people. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. I was like, all right, so you got to start to exude that energy right now. And when something goes wrong or you need to get redirected, it's like, okay, cool. What would my highest version of myself do in this situation right now? How would they act? And I talk about that. My keynote, it's always like, when something does go wrong, you're allowed to sit in the suck with it. If it does suck, it doesn't feel great. You're not going to sit there and be like, everything's great. So feel it. You can feel those feelings, but we have to set a deadline to that and then think about how that higher version of you shows up.
Oh, well, you are the highest version of yourself, I think, all the time.
Oh, thanks.
I
I'm
really
trying my
love,
best to be.
I love watching you and listening to you. So other than Googling you, which is what I do when I want to find more about you, how can people find you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Angela_Gargano, Gargano. And then if you want to hear or go on and learn more about the speaking that I'm doing, it's angela-gargano.com/speaking. And then if you want to learn more about the pull-up course, again, it still exists. I mean, we literally had like 40 or 45 people purchase it this week. I mean, people are like, yeah, we had a really good week with the pull-ups. You can just go to pulluprevolution.com and we have it's a self-paced course, and we've now given people like you can keep it forever. Like keep the access to it, the community. I mean, there's so many women in there of all ages and sizes. That community is literally insane. Like they're all in there helping each other with their pull-up. So those are the two ways that you can find me.
Thank you, Angela.
I adore you.